Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the White House Monday offered a brief reprieve from the growing corruption investigation embroiling the Israeli prime minister. His meeting with President Trump made no mention of the scandal. It came hours after news broke that a third close associate of Netanyahu's had turned state witness. Instead, the pair discussed the impending U.S. embassy move to Jerusalem and a potential Israeli-Palestinian peace deal. Here's what the president had to say.
It would be a great achievement, and even from a humanitarian standpoint, what better if we could make peace between Israel and the Palestinians. And I can tell you, we are working very hard on doing that, and I think we have a very good chance.
Anne Gearan is a White House reporter for The Washington Post, and she joins me now from Washington. All right, so Anne, what were the main takeaways from President Trump's meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu Monday?
Well, Elaine, I think one of the main takeaways is that the peace deal, although the president did sound somewhat more optimistic about chances for a peace negotiation than he has recently, the peace deal remains very much on the back burner for both countries. And what's on the front burner is Iran and the Iranian nuclear deal, the international nuclear deal with Iran, and the deadline that the president has in about 2 months' time to decide whether or not to abandon U.S. participation in that.
So the peace deal on the back burner, but I wonder what we do know about the White House's peace plan, because the president has said that his decision to move the embassy was very much appreciated by the region. And of course, some saw that as a move that would complicate any future peace negotiations with Palestinians. What can you tell us about the outlines of the White House's peace plan?
Well, frankly, very little. The peace plan has been in the works for about a year. The president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is leading the effort, and one of Trump's former lawyers and family friends is the lead negotiator. They have been putting in the time. They spent a whole lot of time last year talking to a lot of stakeholders, including the Palestinians, including the leaders and a variety of other officials in Arab states who would have a stake and a role in trying to both persuade the Palestinians to participate and in helping to keep the peace once it was made. All that said, what they have drafted, and they have drafted something, sits on a shelf somewhere at the White House on somebody's computer or USB drive, and there it will remain for the time being because of the Palestinian reaction to the embassy move when it was announced in December. It's not only the Palestinian reaction, too. That it is very, very difficult for the Arab capitals whom President Trump would need to side with him on this, as well as European partners and other international institutions like the UN, like the peace organization known as the Quartet. He wants backing from all of these entities before he starts on the very difficult process of actually trying to get both parties in the room. Essentially, every one of those entities except Israel has run away from him in this moment because of the embassy move.
Another complexity, the fact that senior advisor Jared Kushner had his security clearance downgraded. How could that potentially affect the White House's plans?
Well, I mean, it certainly could affect the way he deals with Israel directly. Israel is one of the closest intelligence partners for the United States. And if Jared Kushner is not able to see the most secret intelligence that the two countries are sharing, it's not to say that he couldn't work on some aspects of the peace proposal, but it would be difficult to be able to say categorically that he could still manage every part of that. A lot of it wouldn't be secret, but some of it would. The security considerations in the West Bank, for example, parts of that would be classified. The way the United States and Israel share intelligence about Iran is probably the most important aspect to that. And from Israel's perspective, the Iranian issue and the Palestinian peace issue are more related than you might think. They are very concerned about what will happen if the Palestinians have a state on one side of them, and if Iran has essentially a base of operations in Syria, just above on the other side, and essentially how Israel's security apparatus and other things might be stretched by that. So the two things do have a nexus.
Well, turning back to the relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, in your article for The Washington Post, you wrote, quote, "The two leaders who have formed a personal bond closer than any other Trump has with world leaders gave no sign that corruption allegations Netanyahu denies were coloring their meeting." And do we know where investigations into Netanyahu stand now?
Well, we know some of it. I mean, this was the big elephant in the room for both people. Certainly, the investigations are a lot closer to being a giant problem for Netanyahu than the Robert Mueller investigation is for Donald Trump. But the parallels are hard to ignore. In Netanyahu's case, he has already two police recommendations that he be prosecuted in bribery cases. There's a third case that appears close to coming to fruition, and a fourth in the offing. All of this is potentially career-ending for him, although he maintains that there is nothing to it. He will be proven innocent, and he's trying to keep his job.
Anne Gearan from The Washington Post, thanks very much.
Thank you.